Hi everyone, Bradley here. Just wanting to give another update and kind of talk about some stuff again. Yeah, I'll start with kind of where my health has been at and what's going on with my diagnosis and everything. Um, from my last update or since my last update, I have continued my this radiation treatment that I've been getting. Um, it's a pretty easy, simple treatment. Regards to how my other experiences with radiation treatments have gone. Um, I go in once every 2 months for about 5 or 6 hours, and they um, they inject a nuclear dotatate substance, and so dotatate in regular cancers, they metabolize sugar. That's why you hear a lot of people when they, a very common cancer muggle suggestion is, oh, don't eat sugar because it feeds the cancer, right? You're not supposed to eat sugar because it feeds the cancer. So once again, as we all kind of know, my cancer is a little bit I looked at that and said, I don't like that idea. I want to be more unique than that. So my cancer actually doesn't metabolize sugar, which is good because I love sugar. Um, and so it metabolizes this other thing called dotatate. And there are one of the scans actually uses this dotatate. So it's called a dotatate PET scan. So basically, what it is that there's this for this scan, there's they figured out that my cancer metabolizes this dotatate, and so they put radiation in the dotatate so that they inject you with this radioactive dotatate solution, and you sit there and wait a little bit, 45 minutes to an hour, so that it gives your body time to metabolize it and have it go to the points of your cancer. And so when you do the scan is like a regular on the face of it's like a regular CT scan. You go into the little machine and you lay down and it does its thing. But the results of this PET scan are that everywhere where where your cancer grabs this dotatate in regular cancers, it grabs the sugar, this radioactive sugar, um, and then so on the scans, basically all of your tumors, everywhere this metabolism or this metabolic exchange is happening, lights up, right? It's like a spotlight for tumors and cancer and everything like that. It's really interesting. My first scan, basically my entire abdomen lit up. Luckily, since then, with treatments and everything, it's kind of my insides no longer look like New York City at night. So this radiation treatment that I'm getting it works on the same principles, right? So we know that the cancer metabolizes this dotatate, so it kind of eats it up. It really really likes it, and so they put radiation not for imaging but for treatment. So I don't know if it's like a higher dose of radiation or something like that, but basically during the treatments, they inject you with this radioactive dotatate solution, and then you wait, and all of my cancer and my tumors and everything go, yum, dotatate, let me take it all in. But at the same time, they're taking in that radiation, they're taking in that poison. So basically, what this treatment is doing is harnessing the cancer's own metabolic processes and kind of turning it against itself. So like I said, it is there are 4 sessions of that, and I'm halfway through. So I have another session next week, and then 2 months after that. And with that treatment going on, a month or so ago, maybe 2 months ago, my doctor decided to stop the chemotherapy that I was doing at the same time. Because in September, when I went into the hospital for my blood sugar and everything, when they figured out what it was, they said, all right, we're going to start this radiation treatment and also do this chemo at the same time to just, hit it hard, hit it fast to stop the production of insulin, to get these tumors under control, and so that my blood sugars can come down to normal and everything like that. So about 2 months ago, my doctor decided to stop with the chemotherapy because it seemed like the radiation treatments were working. And, like I've mentioned before, really my prognosis is based on the treatments available, how many treatments available, and how long they're effective for. So basically, the decision was made to stop this chemo so that I have another treatment option after this radiation treatment is no longer effective, because you can't go back to treatments. So basically, they put the chemo on pause, and so after my my radiation treatments are no longer effective, I'm going to start up my chemo again, for however long that works. And I did end up shaving my head because I started to lose my hair. So I figured I'd rather, lose little teeny tiny hairs other than find all these big long hairs all over everything. So yeah, I shaved my head just to kind of take out that hassle. Luckily, I have a pretty good bald head, so I'm not too worried about that. But the other thing with my treatments going well, was that my blood sugars started to kind of re-regulate. So I was working with the individuals who, the nutritionists who kind of regulate my TPN, and the TPN is the like the IV nutrition solution that they give me to regulate my blood sugar. So basically, it's just a big bag of glucose and sugars and other nutritional things. So for a long time, I was hooked up to that 24/7. If I came off of it, even for 15 minutes, I could see through the sensors, the blood sugar sensors that I have, I could see my blood sugar just dropping because my insulin was still so high that the moment that I wasn't continuously forcing my body to have this surplus of sugar, the surplus of blood sugar, my insulin was just taking it all away and, having my blood sugars drop. So over the course of these last few months, I've been working with these nutritionists to slowly wean myself off. So it went from, being on it for 24 hours a day to 20 hours a day to 16 hours a day to 12 hours a day. And that's basically where I'm at right now. So I essentially plug myself in. So I don't have any of the IV lines. My PICC line is currently not being in use, which is very exciting to me because it's a literal ball and chain to drag around. So that's my PICC line right there, and these are the I have two. They call these lines, they call them lumens. So I have 2 lumens. And yeah, so that's my little IV with my lumens. One of them, this one I use for my TPN, and this one I use for my chemo when I'm getting it. And so I'm no longer tethered to the bag, which is awesome. I don't have to worry about, getting up to go to the bathroom from the couch and then being yanked back by forgetting the bag left on the couch. So yeah, I hook myself up at night and I sleep with, with this bag, this IV bag, and then when I wake up in the morning, I unhook myself so I can go through my day feeling a little more normal. And now, starting this week, I've gotten to the point where my nutritionist and my doctors and everybody feel comfortable with me being unplugged for an entire 24-hour day. So I have like a real-time glucose sensor that hooks up to my phone, so that basically it checks my blood sugar every 10 minutes and it alerts me when my blood sugars are low or too high, but that's never an issue with me. So yeah, I have these sensors, and then of course, if I'm in the middle of the night, my phone starts alerting me that my blood sugar is low. I can eat something, or just hook my TPN bag back up and not have to worry about it. So overall, physically, I'm doing, pretty well. I'm stable. I had a scan last week that showed, that confirmed that my treatments were working, because it's one thing to go, oh, my blood sugar is going, my blood sugar is being better, indicating that my treatments are working. But it's another thing to have that concrete imaging to actually see what's going on inside, to see whether it's working, or if there's other areas, there's other tumors that pop up or something that shows that the treatment's being ineffective, which has happened previously with other treatments that I've had, that on the I'll be feeling fine, but on the scans it shows 70% of my cancer is responding to treatment, but then there's all these other new spots that come up. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at physically, mentally and emotionally. As I mentioned in my last video, with that much medical intervention and really feeling handicapped by my treatments and everything, it really took a toll on me mentally and emotionally. For the last few months, I've been feeling pretty down, depressed, not really wanting to do too much. And unfortunately, with the situation of the world, and COVID and being an immunocompromised individual, it's really hard for me to kind of get out of that and break that, break that cycle. As I've mentioned before, I've dealt with depression, most of my life, and so I've gotten to the point where I kind of know the things that I need to do myself to get out of those funks, right? I don't think that there's any issue with feeling depressed, with feeling sad, with all of these things. There's a reason why we kind of have these negative emotions, especially in extreme situations. But I also know myself that I can tend to wallow in those things. There is some comfort in that depression. There is some comfort in that, in those feelings. There's some familiarity there. So it is difficult, and especially in just the nature of depression, it drains your energy, it drains your motivation, it, increases your self-deprecation. All these things, and so usually I get physical. I work out, I go and try to hang out with other people, not to isolate myself, all these things. And, unfortunately, there's certain circumstances, with COVID, and then being tethered to a bag full of nutrition liquid. It's a little hard to work out or go for runs or anything. So yeah, so it's been a little bit challenging to kind of find the things that find things to replace the tools that I normally use. But as of late, and receiving the news that my treatments are working, and kind of internalizing that a little bit more, have kind of shifted me into a more positive way. Plus, I love the spring. Lacrosse season is starting. A lot of these things. So I'm kind of taking the energy and motivation that I'm feeling from all of these different areas and kind of trying to solidify it, for some more internal motivation for myself. Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at, physically, mentally, emotionally. And I with that being said, over the last week, I've been thinking a lot about the Ukraine, and Putin and the war and our own country and all of these different things, and kind of how that all relates back to me, because I'm sure I think that Trevor Noah said it correctly. He said, you're either following it so closely on social media and on the news and everything, because you're terrified of what'll happen, or you're not because you're terrified of what'll happen. So I've been following this, and in the beginning of 2016, I was lucky enough to go to Kiev. We had like a 8 or 9 hour layover on a flight, and so instead of staying at the airport, we went into Kiev, and it was right around the holidays. So there was Christmas things going on. But it was also around the same time that Russia invaded the Crimea, I believe, and there was all of these pro-Russian separatists in Ukraine, causing disruptions. And we went there, and we went to this one of their city squares, their town squares, and there was demonstrators there, pro Ukrainian independent demonstrators, talking about these riots that they had been having for the last couple of months, that these this violence that was taking place in their own city, in their own country, being fueled by Russia, by disinformation, by these Ukrainian separatists as well. Even when we were there was burnt out buildings from these riots. I stood out because I was really one of the few able-bodied men that wasn't wearing military uniforms. It was just a very, very eye-opening and sometimes surreal experience. But the thing, that I've been thinking about over the last week, and seeing these videos, of Russian farmers Ukrainian farmers towing Russian tanks, and Ukrainian grandmas going up and putting curses on on the Russian, the Russian soldiers, and just the from the President Zelensky all the way down to everyday citizens, just the indomitable spirit and courage of these people are just incredible to me. And I was thinking about it, during my time, my very, very short visit to this, to Kiev. I saw that there too. Like I said, we were around Christmas time, so there was Christmas fairs going on, Christmas markets going on. And around these, around this joyous celebration of, Christmas, the New Year, all of these things, there was the military presence, right? And so even then, 6 years ago, when in a lot of ways, this Russian aggression kind of, took its first baby steps. There was this spirit. There was this acceptance of the situation, and knowing that, they were going to continue to be Ukrainians, that they were going to continue to celebrate, to live life, to continue to walk in joy, despite the external pressures that they were facing. And it's just incredible to me, and my thoughts and prayers are with the Ukrainian people every day. I'm one of those people who are following everything on social media, on the news. I get such joy from seeing these people stand up to the oppressors, to stand up to these people who, are just trying to exercise power and authoritarianism, for their own gains, right? Putin and his inner circle, his advisors, they don't care about the Ukrainian people. They don't care about the Russian people either. They care about their own power bank. They care about, their influence, which is horrific and terrifying if that's all that they care about. And it's clear that is. And to that end, one of the things that have helped me with my own journey with mental health was this notion of cohesion, internal cohesion. And what I mean by that is I believe in honesty. That's one of my, core values as a person. I believe in honesty, and I believe in the truth. And yet I would act counter to that, lying to people, cheating in relationships, all of these things that went counter to these deep down core held values of, honesty, integrity, truth, all of these things. And I felt such anguish, internal anguish, and it really fueled my self-deprecation of, you're a piece of shit, you lie to everyone, you cheat on people, who do you think you are, that you're an honest person, you're a good person, it really fueled that for me. And over my own journey, I have seen that this hypocrisy, this incongruency, this internal incongruency is a big, um, contributor to my internal anguish, when, yeah. And I can see it in, um, my friends and my family, but also the people that I've worked with on a professional level, right? You have people who say that, that they're a family man or a family person, and they care about their family, and yet they continue to drink and do drugs all day, ruining their relationship with their family, right? And that causes them so much internal distress. I saw it with my own brother, saying that, he'll come and be like, bro, I love you, all this stuff. But then his actions were entirely counter to that. And I know that it hurt me. It hurt my parents, my other brother. But I also know that it deeply, deeply troubled my brother Brendan. That this incongruency, this disconnect that he was feeling, and feeling that he had no control over. So I say all that to kind of bring the focus back to us as a country, and how we conduct ourselves domestically, I guess. I see this incongruency with our country in so many different ways, even from our foundations, right? Constitution, we the people, for the people, by the people, all men are, created and free, we're the land of freedom and justice for all, XYZ. And yet, even at our foundation, we were systematically oppressing women, minorities, people of other sexual orientations, right? Like, there's always been this disconnect, and I think that is America's journey, is to reconcile these differences, as it is with our internal journey to reconcile the differences of our beliefs, of our personalities, of our actions, of our thoughts, of our or of our speech, all of these things. It is our work to reconcile these differences, to bring those two together. And so it's really concerning to me that, as a whole, our country, regardless of political party, supports Ukraine, right? That's what America does. We are against authoritarianism. We are against of tyrants, right? That's what the Declaration of Independence is. We as a country are emancipating ourselves from the tyrant, the King of England, and we try to embody that as a country, as a whole. Once again, regardless of political opinion, political beliefs, and yet one of our major political parties is headed by a man who called this tyrant Putin. He called Putin a genius, and that he was smart, and that we should do that on our southern border. And there's an entire political party that accepts him, that doesn't even after all of the horrific things that he's said, and over the course of however long, but that this man is coming out now saying that this tyrant, this dictator, this authoritarian strongman is smart and he's a genius, and that we should emulate his example on our southern border. Can you imagine these videos that we see from Ukraine and Russia? Can you imagine those in North America? We can see them from the side of Mexicans and Central Americans, from the aggressors of the United States. That's what this man is advocating. Or not advocating, excuse me, praising, suggesting. And so there's this disconnect, right? In the same way that people who are supposed champions of individual liberties want to ban books. They want to say, oh, you can't read that. You can't have those ideas because they don't agree with them. These champions of limited government overreach. Yet the government's going to tell you that you can't be transgender. The government's going to tell you you can't have an abortion during a certain time period. And we will entice our own civilians, our own citizens, your neighbors, your countrymen, to tattle on you. That we basically deputized the nation, or the citizens in these states, to be intelligence operatives, right? They want you to spy on your family, on your friends, on your neighbors, on the people in your community. And yet they say limited government overreach, right? And I'm not trying to disparage anyone's political views here. I'm trying to do is point out this incongruence, this disconnect, this hypocrisy that at a personal level, that I've experienced myself, that I've seen others experience, in my view, the personal anguish and pain that is caused when an individual is not congruent with themselves, that their actions and thoughts and feelings don't line up to their values and their belief system and who they know themselves to be. That anguish destroys people. It leads people to addiction and suicide and all of these other things. That's on an individual level. And so what happens when you have an entire nation that has these incongruencies, that has these hypocrisies, that has this work, and I really do think that it's work. It took me years to years of working with therapists, with myself, with my my friends and family, the people who support me, to get to a point where I felt that I was successfully managing my depression. Right, I still experience my depression, but it's not as debilitating as it was, because I have learned how to deal with it. I have learned how to manage it, and I've addressed these these root issues that really fuel that in me, these incongruencies, right? And it is work. And I think that that's also, what we as a country need to commit to as well, is doing the work to reconcile these seemingly impossible differences. And it is going to be difficult, especially with how things are now. But I'm hoping and I'm hopeful that the war in Ukraine, one of the benefits that comes out of it is kind of putting up a mirror in the United States. Kind of giving us this explicit graphic visual of unfettered authoritarian power versus democracy, and the fight that democracy has to put up, the fight that the people have to put up to withstand and go against this authoritarian power. And this idea of congruency and kind of coming together and uniting isn't just a mental health thing or a national thing. You can see this across religions as well. Many ancient religions had a good God and a bad God, right? A Jesus and Lucifer, if we are comparing to those making those comparisons to Christianity. But you can throw in any two people, right? A good God and a bad God. And a lot of these very ancient religions had somebody above them, actually. And this person, this deity, was all-encompassing. It was good and bad. It was the unification of these two things. It wasn't just good and bad. It was both. It was neither, because they unified. And you can see this through so many different religious belief systems. Buddhism, Hinduism, all these things, New Age movement, this unification of dark and light, this coming together to create a fully coalesced being. Because it's just in our very nature as humans to have these negative impulses, to want to have power, to want to have money, to want to take what we want, all of these things. And yet we have the other side, that is the spirit of empathy and cooperation, and not wanting to hurt and do wrong to fellow man. We all have these things. You listen to there was a interview with Jeffrey Dahmer that I listened to, and he talked about that. This arguably one of the most heinous, horrific serial killers in American history. He was talking about these internal forces that he felt, this good and the bad, that he didn't, without going too much into it, but he didn't want to hurt these individuals. That was one of the reasons why he tried to create zombies by injecting acid into people's brains. He wanted them to be alive and docile so that he could do what he wanted to them, which was horrific and degrading and dehumanizing to his victims. But he also didn't want to kill them and hurt them. And ultimately, his, trying to create zombies with injecting acid into his brain and killing his victims was was the means to the ends for him. So ultimately, he let that negative, destructive human power, conquer him. And it goes back to like the Jungian shadow. We have to, as people, be able to reflect on our own actions and kind of go into the deep, dark nooks, corners, and crannies of our mind and of our psyche and of our soul, and explore these things, and to take a good hard look at them, and to shine the light of day on these things so that they cannot flourish in the darkness. And I see the same thing, kind of going back to this incongruent example on a national level, letting this kind of domestic militia mindset go unchecked for so long has allowed it to grow and thrive in this in our nation's collective psyche. And and I think that it's good that or I think that some of the good that happens from January 6th, the insurrection January 6th, to the war in Ukraine, that it's shedding light on those dark areas, whether we want them to or not. And unfortunately, it's us to seize the moment, to take that opportunity, and to have courage and pride in oneself and one's country to address and deal with those issues. Yeah, and I think that that's kind of all that I have to say on that. That's just kind of what's been going on in my head, looking through the news last week. Trying to relate this, unimaginable event that's happening across the world, seeing it in 30-second clips here and there, but seeing the pictures and images of the destroyed buildings, of the refugees, all of these people trying to take this, massive, unimaginable situation and trying to kind of bring it back to a way that I can relate to it, and that I can find some meaning, some personal meaning in everything that's going on. And I hope that I haven't alienated anybody through my talk of politics here. I can do the same for the liberal side of it as well, for the left as well. It'll take me a little bit longer to come up with examples, but it's there as well. And yeah, it's a really tough time and stressful time and anxiety producing time for us all. It's been that way for 2-3 years now. And I'm the type of person that looks at these situations that make you feel hopeless and powerless, and these out of control situations, and try to find the small bits of things that I can control myself. And I really hope that you listening to kind of my thought process and what's been going on for me, um, allows you to kind of look at yourself, look at the country, kind of put that mirror up, good and bad. um, So, thank you for taking this time out of your day to be with me. It really does mean a lot. I've gotten a lot of really good feedback from these videos, phone calls from friends and family who, want to talk to me about them, who say, oh, this is, um, you know, really beneficial to them, that they've given it to other people. Um, so I just want to say thank you for taking this time. It really does mean a lot to me. Um, so yeah, continue your thoughts and prayers. For my health, but also for the people of the Ukraine, the people of this country. Um, that sets out that vibration. Um, so I just want to say thank you again, and um, I will continue to put out these updates and let people know how I'm doing and kind of what's going on with me in general. And yeah, and I really hope that it resonates with some people, that it makes an impact. Um, so please continue to I ask that you share these videos if you feel called to. Um, I really appreciate it. I always put a link to my GoFundMe as well. Um, so if you're called to contribute financially, that's always appreciated. Um, and of course, I will always gladly accept, you know, words of support and, prayers. Um, So thank you. I really appreciate it. See you all soon. Natakuye wasim. Aho.